Hi, I'm Derek Landy, author of Skulduggery Pleasant and Captain America and Iron Man. Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV.
Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I'm Andrew Sumner, and guess who is with me? None other than Skulduggery Pleasant's very own Derek Landy. It's great to see you again, mate. How have you been?
I have been excellent. Thanks for having me back on. These are always fun, always a joy.
And it's always great to see you. And last time around, we were talking about your amazing Skulduggery Pleasant series and your latest Skulduggery Pleasant novel, Until the End. This time around, we're going to talk about a mutual love of ours, comic books. Of course, I just sit around reading comic books, but you actually write them. Not only that, but now you're writing Marvel comic books. Now, you had that great Falcon and Winter Soldier book last year, which I loved, by the way, mate. But I what I'd really like to talk about is the collected edition of your Captain America Iron Man book with beautiful art by Ángel Unzueta. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Unzueta, yes. Yeah, yes. I was close. And amazing covers by Alex Ross. But getting the chance to work on Captain America and Iron Man, and I know from our previous conversations what a big deal that must be for you, mate.
It's yeah, I mean, it's different if say you have an idea, you have a pitch, and you go in, you know, because I've done the Black Order for Marvel, which was 5 issues, and obviously Falcon and Winter Soldier. And so, you know, you kind of build up a nice little relationship there with the editors. And so if you have an idea, you know, you send it and you go, you know, maybe this, and they'll go. Usually what happens is they are so busy that they go, yes, I will read this, give me a few weeks, and then it turns into months. And so it's a good thing I have my books, because otherwise I'd be destitute. But there is a difference between pitching an idea and then suddenly a name pops up in the inbox, and it's, you know, your editor, and they're going, Derek, what would you think about you know, doing 5 issues of Captain America and Iron Man? And you go, what? And the excitement starts to build, and you're like, okay, sure. In what context? You know, like part of like a tie-in, part of like a big event, part of a, and then they go, no, just whatever you want. Just, you know, think of an idea, send in a pitch, and so suddenly you have the world just opens up. And when this happened, it was, you know, probably it had gone past the middle of lockdown, and in lockdown I had started to devour all of the huge big omnibus Marvel stuff and DC stuff, all of the comics that I had heard about and I'd read about, and I'd seen pieces, and they were always like referenced in later stories, but I'd never actually read, because, you know, they're from the 60s and they're from, you know, and so I had decided to, okay, I'm just gonna, this is now going to be my thing. Every night before bed, I'm in the kitchen and I will read a chapter of a book, and I will read 1 issue of this gigantic omnibus and 1 issue of this omnibus. And so I was working my way through Marvel, and by the time they said, are you interested? So I had been through the first like 10 years of Captain America, the first 10 years of Iron Man, you know, the first 5 years of Avengers. And So, you know, when they asked, "Are you interested?" I went, "Yes, okay." And I in my pitch, I was incorporating like bad guys that had appeared once in an Iron Man, you know, from, you know, whatever year. I think it was issue 29 or something like that. Um, just one random bad guy who appeared once. I said, okay, this is my villain. Um, so it's just a thrill to write these characters. Uh, and bizarrely, when it was announced, I had written the first issue, and we announced it, and the amount of feedback we got immediately was impressive. But the thing, as I was reading through the tweets, the thing that struck me was the conversations happening between readers. And it's like, oh, I hope it's, you know, it isn't like another civil war. I hope it's, you know, Steve and Tony as friends. And I was going, okay, this is what I'm, you know, I had no interest in the most obvious thing, which would be to pit them against each other, because that has already been done both in comics and in movies. But once I saw the reaction, once I realized that my approach to have them as friends was actually what people out there were waiting for. It's like, oh, now I can actually really go into this. So from issue 2 on, that just gave me a license to explore the friendship between them, which is so obvious from the 60s and 70s. You know, it's only in the last 20 years, only since like Civil War, has there really been like a fracturing.
Yeah.
But yeah, originally they were buddies, they were
Yeah,
pals, and so
I'm so pleased that you brought this up because it was one of the key things I was going to ask you about. So, you know, to just to put my hand on my heart and tell you, my Captain America is my favorite comic book character. You know, by a long way. Mainly because I was introduced to comic books in the '60s by my grandfather, Pop Smythe, who'd served with an American unit in World War II and came back with a load of comic books and a great love of America and American culture.
yeah,
And he was a massive Captain America fan. And you know, the origin being completely encoded in World War II, it's always meant a great deal to me, and my memories of him are tied into it. But I one of the things I love about this book, Captain America Iron Man, is the portrayal of Cap and Tony as friends, which of course they are. Yeah, and it's to strike a DC analogy. It's a bit like you have 40 years of Superman and Batman being best friends, and then suddenly somebody hits on the, you know, quite inspired idea that actually the kind of poles apart and they could
yeah,
work well together with enmity being in their relationship. But it doesn't stop the fact, and that, which is of course what everybody did with Civil War, but it doesn't stop the fact that emotionally you actually want these guys to love each other because they already respect each other.
yeah,
And I think what you've achieved with this is kind of the comic book equivalent of, you know, that moment in Endgame where they kind of bury the hatchet and they're friends again and the respect for each other comes to the fore. It's a big emotional beat in that movie, isn't it? You're like, yeah, that's what I want to see. But
yeah.
this is the print equivalent of that moment, I think.
That's
And
lovely.
you must be so pleased with that, because I'm not the only person who thinks that way. It's like you're saying, the response across the board has been yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's been so so heartening. And also because what the friendship has allowed me to explore is, and I'm hugely lucky because both characters in the last 10 years have emerged from huge shifts in their own personal dynamics, leading up to this series. Captain America had just been the Hail Hydra Cap. So
Yeah.
he had been Hydra Cap, and actually, and so that wasn't technically him. That was a version of him. So it isn't the Captain America that he emerged, but he still had all of that to deal with, and he had the like on a deeper level. He now has the knowledge that there is a version of him out there who would be a Nazi.
Yeah.
And that up until now would be completely unthinkable. And well, obviously I would never be like that, but no, there's a version where he was. Tony had just essentially come back to life. So both of them are spinning. And these traumatic events have been dealt with to a degree in their own series. But I haven't, and maybe I'm wrong and I missed an issue, but I haven't seen them speak to anyone about what the trauma means. So when I realized that they were both, just coming out of a tailspin, I could actually have them, these two old friends, reconnecting, not, and because of that, I would be able to address so much else, so much more. The fact that Captain America is the ultimate alpha male, and yet he's so warm and so kind and so nice. And so it isn't about solving a problem. Whenever I have been presented with a problem from somebody else, my initial instinct was always, okay, well, you're telling me this, so now you want me to solve it. And as my girlfriend has pointed out again and again, no, I don't want you to solve this. I just want to talk about it. So that took me a while but why are you talking about it if you don't want me to solve it? So it has taken me a while to get to the point where I go, okay, when people talk about their problems, they don't need you to step in with a solution. They need a sounding board. They need just to talk about it, because even the talking about it helps. So now you have Tony and Steve, two leaders of men, two heroes, two people who've done extraordinary things, coming out of a tailspin. They find each other, they talk to each other about their problems, and neither of them solves each other's problem. And that realization that they don't need to solve, you just need to talk. It was a chance to use these characters to address what we now know as toxic masculinity, without actually talking about a toxic masculinity. It's the same in the Skulduggery books. When I introduce a diversity or a trans or a non-binary people, you don't announce them with great fanfare, because that marks this out as different and special, and look at me, look at what I'm doing, I'm being inclusive. You introduce them because they're part of your story and your world, and they're just accepted. And so with Captain America and Iron Man, I didn't want to talk about toxic masculinity and go, this is the problem with it, and this is our way out. Instead, I just wanted to present an alternate way of dealing with things that I've learned over the years. And because of these guys, these two wonderful friends, who are so confident in who they are as people, as men, that they don't care about image, they don't care about the bravado or the machismo. It's just yeah, we are so confident in ourselves as men that we are now people, and that's all, you know. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that is, I think that is beautifully said, and I think it's great that you were able to use Captain America and Iron Man as a prism through which to open up that conversation, and not in a heavy-handed polemic way, but
yeah.
to talk about it in a way
I mean, I
that's
have
just there.
robots, and I have like a girl on like a goblin glider with octopus arms. I
Yeah.
mean, I got to have fun. Um,
And it's really evident on the page. And for everybody watching this, I can only I myself, as a lifelong Captain America and Iron Man fan, can only urge you to buy this fine book, available from the links attached to the conversation. But Derek, I could talk to you about this for another 2 hours. But for the time being, that's what we'll do off camera. For the time
yeah,
being, I'll say thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon, mate.
thank you very much.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.